Hi guys, welcome to my first bullet journal tutorial. I'm so excited to be here. I've had a lot of requests for this video. It's been in the works for a bit. It's my first YouTube video, so I didn't really know what I was doing. I had a couple of technical things to figure out, but I'm really happy with the result. I decided that for my first video, I'd be doing a plan with me for the month of June. And so my theme is waves. So for this first page, this little cover page for the month, I decided to do the Great Wave. It's one of my favorite works of art. I kind of used this piece of art to draw inspiration for the rest of the month and for just the little drawings and doodles that I'll be doing throughout the plan. Just kind of embellish it, make it more fun, make it more visually interesting when I'm, stressing out writing my stuff down for the week. So while that's finishing up, I thought that I'd kind of introduce what I do and how I like to set up my monthly plans. So I've been a bullet journalist for 2 years now. My first bullet journal was a moleskin and it was lined paper and I had no idea what I was doing. I kind of went to Pinterest for help. I didn't even know that there was a community on YouTube at the time for bullet journaling, so I didn't even know that that was a resource. So I figured out a lot of it through Tumblr, through Pinterest, through experimentation. And that time gave me a lot of freedom to really express myself. I didn't have a standard that I compared myself to. And I really hope that these tutorials help you to figure out and experiment with what you really like and, what works for you, because everyone's different. And by no means is this the one and only way to do a bullet journal. This is one of the many. And if you'd like, I can link the original bullet journal video below to see, how it really started off and how simple it truly is. And maybe that would work for you too. But for now, I will be doing this tutorial and I'm really excited. So the pen that I'm using is a Faber Castell Artist Pitt pen. It's India ink in size small. I really love this pen. I have a whole pack of them. They're wonderful. I use them for bullet journaling. I use them for illustrations. I use them for art class. They're a great material to have. You can get them from Amazon. You can find them at Michael's. If you'd like, I could go into more detail about all the different materials that I'll use throughout this video in a separate video, maybe like a stationery haul or materials explained video or something like that. So if you want that, let me know in the comments below. While this is finishing up, I think that I'll go on to talk about what I like to do to set up my month. So as you can see, I'm doing a cover page. After that, I like to have a calendar, and on the page opposing that, I have an expense tracker. I don't really need my expense tracker this month, but I thought I'd just include it, to give you an idea of how I truly set up my bullet journal, so I'll just throw that in anyways. On the 2 pages following those, I have a brain dump page and a sketch ideas page. And maybe you want to switch out like the sketch ideas page for something that you do in your free time, like another calendar for sport events if you play a lot of sports, or a grocery shopping list if you have a lot of shopping to do, a book list. Anything can replace that sketch ideas page. That's just my personal preference because I like to have a place to brainstorm for new art projects that I'm coming up with. On the pages after that, there will be my weekly spreads. I use 2 pages for my weekly spreads, and you'll see that shortly. I like to kind of decorate them. I don't use much room to write down what I have to do from day to day, so I enjoy really filling that space with almost a curated kind of Pinterest board look. I find pictures and images and colors that really go with the theme of the month that I chose, and I like to line those all up and make them look nice. So now I will be starting the calendar portion of my monthly spread. I like to trace it out personally. I just like the color of my paper. I think it's a really nice kind of cream white. It's not a very bright white, but I like it. If you don't want to trace it out or sketch it out and measure it yourself, you do have the option of printing a wall calendar off of the internet and just sizing it down to the size of your respective journal, and you can just print that bad boy out, cut it out, and get some nice double stick Scotch tape to put it in, and that saves you the trouble of this entire page. However, I really, again, like the color of my paper, so I prefer to have it right in there. So I draw it in. As you can see, I sketched it out ahead of time because I just wanted to make sure it was really precise and clean. So I'm going over it now with my Faber Castell Pitt pen in size small, and just making those lines really crisp. On this page, I like to include events that I have going on this month, any reminders, meetings I've scheduled, really anything. I know some people like to have a personal calendar and like a work calendar or school calendar, and that's completely fine. If you want to do that as well, you would put that on the opposing page, or at least I would, just to have all your calendars in one place. For assignments, when it comes to classes, I like to have a different color on my calendar to help pop out at me, to let me know that I have an upcoming event. Sometimes I even like to use little sticky notes, and I cut them to the size of my boxes and I just put it in there so that it doesn't crowd up that day, and I take that reminder off when I've completed that task. So that's another option that you have. I'm also a really big fan of handwriting in everything, so I will be putting in the days of the week, the days of the month, and a nice little title for this portion. So now I will be doing a little illustration on the bottom of my calendar page just to bring it, bring it right back to the theme of waves and ocean. So going with the Japanese painting that I chose for the title page, I decided to find a woodblock print that really went with my theme. So I kind of looked some up and I found a really nice one that I liked with waves on Pinterest, and so I kind of mimicked that style and just kind of sketched in really roughly. I really like this woodblock print. I think it's very nice. It really flows well, and I can carry it over to the next page with no problem. So that's something to consider if you want to put nice little border on the bottom of your pages. I suggest something really simple that can carry over easily between the middle of the page. Another thing about embellishing journals, I think that some people don't see the point in it, and in the original bullet journal video that I have linked below in the description box, the creator of the bullet journal, he didn't really see anything against creativity in your own bullet journal, but he didn't really use it when he did the tutorial for the original. And some people just like it that way. They like the minimalistic style. They like just, the future log and your weekly plan and doing it, very minimalist. I think that you can easily marry the creativity and the minimalist and the efficiency and put it all together, and I think that that's what a bullet journal really has the capability to do. So I love embellishing my bullet journal and drawing in it and illustrating. I think it makes it so much more fun. It's like a second sketchbook for me. It almost feels like I'm practicing graphic design in a way, because I'm figuring out what works well together with what color schemes, and I think that that's a really great way to practice. Right now I'm starting my expense tracker. I don't really need it this month, as I said earlier, but I decided to put it in anyways to show y'all kind of how I do it. The lines are a little messy. I'm about to mess up right here. I kind of made it a little too crooked, but it's my first time recording with a camera over me, so you'll have to excuse this time. Hopefully I'll get better in the future. For the expense tracker, I usually have 4 columns. On the left, I put the date. That large middle column I use for a description of what I bought and where I bought it, so that if I have to go through my bank statements, I can find it pretty easily. And then those right little columns I use as a plus and a minus, so if I deposit any money into my account, I can track it, and if I take any out, I can also have that there as well. And on the bottom, I will continue that nice little Japanese woodblock print over, just to embellish it a little bit more. You might have seen me dab the corner of that expense tracker right there. I was using a white rollerball mochi pen to kind of block out my mistake. I think I made it a little too long on the bottom, so I just went in and kind of dabbed that with a little white pen to clean up that mistake. Right here, I'm starting my header for the calendar and for the expense tracker. I kind of like to make them very cohesive, so I tend to make the headers the same on both pages, just to tie it in really nicely. The marker that I just used was a Crayola super tip marker. They sell 50 packs for super cheap. I think it's somewhere around $9.99 or something. You can find those anywhere from Office Max to, you know, really any craft store. So for the header, I also like to embellish it a little bit by thickening the lines, kind of making it look like calligraphy. I haven't learned yet. That's on my summer to-do list. So for now, I continue to just kind of enhance what I have. I really like the color that I chose for this month. I think that the blue is very light, and you have to be careful with some of those Crayola super tips, because if they are too dark, they can saturate your page with color and it can kind of bleed through to the other side, so you do want to be aware of that. And now I'm doing the expense tracker header. I just really like the way that it came out. I'm pretty proud of this. So moving on to the weekly spread, I like to use nice images that go with my theme, so I found some of these on Pinterest and I have a Polaroid thrown in there. I thought that was fun. So for my sketch ideas and brain dump page, I decided not to include how I did the headers just because I felt like it was a little simple. I might, you know, show you guys through the final flip through what they look like, but I just didn't find them necessary. So moving right into my weekly spread, as you can see, I'm kind of setting up my format and where I want my images to be. I'm using Scotch double-sided stick tape to keep my images in place. I really like how smooth it is. There's not a lot of resistance. It goes on the page very easily. The page doesn't crinkle or do anything strange. It doesn't get bumpy or wavy, and that's just perfect because you wouldn't want that in a bullet journal. You don't really want, you know, anything to cause resistance while you're writing. It can kind of mess up your weeks to come. Another fun thing that I like to do is kind of pick a color per week. So even though I'm doing ocean theme and I'm doing the waves, I really like the idea that I can work within the different shades of blue and really pick out what I want to work with. So for this week, I kind of went with like a lighter blue. It's kind of seen the lighter shades of the wave in the top left-hand corner. You can see it kind of in the reflection of the ocean in the bottom left corner, and it's just kind of throughout these images, and I really like that shade. I think it's really nice. It flows smoothly through all of these images, and so that's something that I try to do in order to be cohesive in all of the pictures that I pick for a weekly spread, is find that similar shade of a color, and I think that it worked really well. I love doing that. It's kind of like a little puzzle that I have to figure out on my own. I also like that I can include any quotes that I have. I sometimes even make my own illustrations and include those on post-it notes and kind of shape them to, you know, what my bullet journal is for that week. So now I will be starting my weekly spread for the first week of June. And as you can see, I'm kind of flipping back and forth between my old spreads. I kind of wanted to see what I wanted to do for the font. I like to mix it up from week to week just to make things interesting. So I decided to go with a classic kind of embellished cursive font that I do a lot. And I basically just write it out the day of the week in cursive, and then I go back and I embellish it. And since this theme is ocean and it is waves and it's very summery, I also wanted to include some sea stars. So that's what I'm doing right now with the Crayola Super Tip, is creating a sea star for the background of the number. and I'm going back in with my Faber Castell brush pen to really make that number very sharp and nice so I can easily see where I am during the week. As I'm going through my weekly spread and filling out the days of the week, I thought I would just go over how this week is a little bit different for me. I usually do the header for each day on a daily basis, so this is my first time really mapping out everything in advance, and it's a little difficult for me to judge the space that I need because, again, I determine it based off of what I need on a daily basis. So some days I may not really have much to do, and other days might take up at least half a page. On the same note, it's kind of nice to see everything mapped out at once, and it's a lot easier to move tasks from day to day. So I decided, instead of boring everyone with the minutia of the embellishing and writing out every single day, that I would kind of finish this tutorial up a little bit faster than I expected. It's definitely been a learning process, but I figured that I'd finish this up in a snap for y'all. So here it is completed. I am really happy with how it came out. Some of my lines under the titles are a little bit more slanted than I would have liked, but again, it's a learning process and you have to experiment and see what works for you and what doesn't. So now I'm starting my mini calendar for the week. I kind of like to have another calendar on each weekly spread. I like it because it's a lot easier to map out what I do from day to day, and sometimes I go back and kind of write down what I did that day even though I don't have it in my monthly calendar, and it's just like a nice little reminder for things. And I decided that instead of having the possibility of messing up with the ink, I went and got a pencil to, quickly mark in where these days are going. So I decided to use the turquoise LePen marker that I have. I think I got it from Books and Books, if I'm not mistaken. It's really nice. It's made in Japan. I can find more information on that if you like, and I'll link it below in the description box if I do find it. I had so much fun making this video, you guys. I cannot explain how happy I am that it came out so nice and so clean. I love the colors. The blue Crayola Super Tip worked really nicely on the paper, and I love the sea stars for the background. I added a few more embellishments in the final flip through, as you'll see. I really am happy with the calendar and expense pages. I think that the wood block print was a really nice choice. Moving on to the sketch ideas and brain temp page. This is kind of what I ended up doing for the headers. I thought it was really simple and I didn't really include it in the tutorial, so there it is. And here again is my weekly spread. I love the colors. I really enjoyed making this video again. If you would like any other videos, please let me know. I hope you all have a great week, and I'll see you soon. Bye!